أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, what I want to talk about today is the state of our hearts. How is our heart beating? And do you analyze it often enough? If you check your heart often enough, from the physical perspective at least, we have something in the heart. You feel some pain in the chest. You feel some kind of symptoms close to the heart. There is a tendency in this age of the internet that you search online, I'm getting this symptom. What could it possibly be? Or straight away you ring a doctor or your relatives about the pain to find out what it potentially might be. You make efforts, physical efforts, to make sure that your physical heart is in its right shape. It's beating correctly. The blood is flowing correctly. There are no blockages, no attacks of any sort. You want to make sure you're taking the right medicines to fix that heart, to fix that issue, whatever it might be. These days, people tend to go for surgeries about it. The point is, you spend so much time, if even there's a slight issue with your heart in the physical sense. We need to be conscious of our hearts in the similar manner in the spiritual sense. We need to be worrying about our hearts in the spiritual terms as well. It is from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he has told us that we should constantly diagnose our heart. And he has told us what are the potential diseases in a heart from a spiritual sense. And he has also given us the cure of what potentially should be the cure for these hearts. How do we fix them? What do we have about it? How do we improve them? Exactly the same concept. You want to take care of your physical heart? The same way you take care of your spiritual heart. Because if you do not, if you take it easy, you want to have that major effect on your heart. In the physical sense again, you're worried about it. So should you be worried about your spiritual heart and the fear of losing it, of losing yourself completely. That is where we need to be worried about. In a hadith narrated by Abu Sayyid al-Khudri, he narrates from Huzaifa radiallahu anhu that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that the heart is of four types. Four different types. The first type of heart is a heart that is ajrat. It is full, completely focused and full with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else matters. Completely focused on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It shines with that brightness, with that like a radiating lamp for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It beats for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is beautiful in its own way. You want that kind of heart. So much beauty in such a heart that it cannot be contained within the chest and it radiates out. It shows what kind of a man it is. It shines bright. The second type of heart is one that is sealed, completely sealed, and not tied around it. And that is the heart of a disbeliever. Heart of a disbeliever. The third type of heart is one that is upside down. It is upside down. And the fourth type, come back to that, the fourth type is one that is wrapped up but not completely sealed. Covered with something but not completely sealed. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he continues in that hadith and he tells us, as for the heart that is radiant, that is shining bright, that is the heart of a true believer. A shining, radiant heart filled with iman, and that is what it is shining with. Filled with faith, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as for the heart that is sealed, that is the heart of a disbeliever. Nothing in it, no brightness at all, nothing glimmers out of it. As for the third one, the heart that I said is upside down, that is the heart of a munafiq, a hypocrite. It knows the facts, it knows the truth, but it chooses to throw it away. May Allah save us from that. We don't want such a heart of a munafiq who knows the facts but does not want to live by it. And then we have the fourth type of heart. And this is probably the most interesting one. As I said, it is one which is wrapped, but it is not completely sealed. There is some kind of wrapping around it, but it's not sealed. It's not closed like the one of a disbeliever. And this heart, it has both iman and nifaq. It has a bit of iman in it, but it also has a bit of hypocrisy. It is fed from two sources. And that, my dear brothers and sisters, is the hal of the majority of the people. The heart of the majority of the people today. Where when the source of faith is driving into it, the pure water is flowing into it, the stream of life is being given to it, that's one source. That your iman is coming from, you're building it, you're pushing it. The blockages are clearing with that pureness of water, the pureness of iman. One that makes the heart healthy. But simultaneously there is the second source of hypocrisy, where we are feeding the heart from another source as well, where we are going astray from time to time. We are feeding in, instead of pure waters, kind of pus and blood. And that's the second source. And whichever of the two sources, whether it's the belief or the hypocrisy, whichever is stronger at a time, that is the judgment of your iman's level. At a certain point in time, whichever flow is going stronger, that is where your iman is. And this is what we need to be thinking about. How much and how well am I going to let that pure water flow into my heart, and how much and how less am I going to feed it with that source of hypocrisy? These contradicting sources, the heart has to manage between the two, stabilize between the two. So talk to yourself, ask yourself, where is my heart at this point in time? Which is my stronger source? The source of iman or the source of hypocrisy? I call myself a Muslim, but where are my actions going? What am I doing? What am I saying? How's my behavior, people? Think about it. Where am I? How do you feel? Emotionally, where are you? There is a tendency in today's times where people are judged by how you see them. Right? You find somebody emotionally weak, you find somebody weeping, and you feel that maybe they are having a higher faith level. But that's not necessarily the truth. That's not necessarily the truth. And this comes from another hadith that Aisha radiallahu anha, she narrates. She lived a longer life and she saw people from the next generation. She says, I saw some people in the later generation who used to collapse in their prayer, completely collapse in their prayer. But collapsing in prayer and weeping, let's say being emotional or showing in that intensity, is not something that the Sahaba used to do. They would not collapse in their prayer. Yes, they would be weeping. Yes, when they hear the Quran, tears would be flowing onto their beards, but they would not necessarily collapse and, make a scene out of it. We don't want that. Because that's not the right path. The right path is when you hear the Quran, you feel it. You hear the words of Allah, you feel it. It should take something inside. The salah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he did not collapse in prayer while leading the prayers. He was still standing upright. Yes, the tears flowed when the ayahs came through. So think about it. What kind of heart do I want? You need a heart, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about a believer's heart, that it should be wajilat qulubuh. The salah should tremble your heart. The Quran should tremble your heart. The weeping should be inside, not necessarily put up a show about it. That is where the level of hypocrisy you need to control. Your heart should tremble. Words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something deep inside should move. It should move. Words of Allah. Standing in front of Allah. Following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You should feel it. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he used to recite the Quran, it is said he was like a boiling pot of water. You could hear the buka, a kind of crying inside, You could hear it in the trembling in his voice. The words of Allah. Not in a loud wailing kind of way, but inside, the heart is weeping. The heart is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The pure water is flowing through it. That trembling, that something happening to the heart must happen. It must happen. We must let that pure water flow into our hearts of iman, of faith. We must let it grow. And as much as possible, we must control that flow of hypocrisy. Control it to the best of your ability. So how do you judge where your heart is? How do you judge it? A healthy heart, in the physical sense, it does not give you any pain. Right? Standing fine, there's no problem, I move around, there's no pain in the heart, I'm fine. Physically, that's how you judge it, right? It's beating properly, yeah, it seems fine. Flow is fine. I'm able to play around, run around, walk around, work around, whatever it might be. You keep moving forward in this journey of a life. You keep moving. So, believer's heart, it should feel two things. Two very important things is what a believer's heart should feel. The first is pain when you sin. You must feel pain when you sin. That is the first thing that you should feel. And the second thing that you should feel is pleasure when you worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You want a good spiritual heart? Think about those two aspects. You should feel pain when you sin, and you should feel pleasure in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two basic, fundamental aspects of having a healthy spiritual heart. A heart of a true believer. Sweetness of Iman needs to be tasted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may He never turn our hearts away from the religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't strike your heart straight away. He doesn't ruin it. He lets you take the path. How do you want to live your life? If a person constantly lives a life in which he is doing full of sins, right? Slowly, steadily, sin after sin after sin, how will your heart become? It will darken up. Because you are feeding it that. You are feeding it with sin. You are not feeling it anymore. Next time you sin, it's like, it's a normal thing, right? Don't get there. Don't reach that point where the sins are not affecting your heart anymore. Let us be very conscious about this aspect. We cannot let the sins not affect our heart. Clear that blockage first and strive for the right path. Pursue it. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, as-Siddiq, he had a heart that somehow was unlocked in such a way that whatever the Prophet ﷺ said, it accepted immediately. The heart of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Anything from the Prophet ﷺ, accept. No other source. Attracted straight away to whatever the Prophet ﷺ had to say. To such an extent that no other Sahaba and no other man who has lived on the face of this earth after that, till the last man, no one's heart will be as attached to the religion as Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu. He is going to be the first man to enter paradise after the prophets. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu. What kind of heart did he have? What kind of orientation it had towards the religion, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The salah of Abu Bakr might not have been in counts, in quantity as much as some of the other Sahaba. Might not have been. But whatever he prayed, the heart with which he prayed it is what mattered. Which is the reason why the gate of salah from paradise will call out to him. His fasting might not have been as many as the fast of some of the other Sahaba. Yet, the gate of fasting will reach out to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu first. Similarly for sadaqah. Similarly, all the gates of the paradise. Abu Bakr, come, enter from us. That is Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Because that heart of his was constantly beating for Allah, for Islam, for the right path. During the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, an imam who saw this young Umar growing up, he called out to his father and he said, I want to tell you something about your son. I want to tell you something about the son. And he said, I have never seen anyone whose heart occupies so much of Allah as much as you, sir. Beautiful words. You see how these people used to judge people? By the quality of their hearts and its attachment to Allah. These were righteous people. This is what concerned them. How much are our hearts attached to Allah? Whose is more, whose is less? And he says, not a single heart I have seen as much as your sons. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz rahimahullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, He has given us just one heart. Not two. Right? Just one heart. And this heart, my dear brothers and sisters, we need to nourish it with the sweetness of Iman. We need to fill it with that. We need to be pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that. Because this heart that He has given us, there is no other master of it. He Himself is the master of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When He alone is the master of it, why are we creating blockages for it? Why are we not allowing our hearts to beat only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What is wrong with this? Why are we feeding on sins and going away from the good deeds? Let us retrace our steps. Let us go back to the purity of your hearts, the way it was when you were born. Pure. Beating for the sake of Allah. Feeding only on good deeds. Repulsive towards evil. Let us build our hearts towards that. Let us build our hearts towards. Prophet ﷺ was asked, what is Iman? What is faith? The Prophet ﷺ said, if your good deeds make you happy and your bad deeds make you sad, then you are a believer. As simple as that. If your good deeds make you happy and bad deeds make you sad, then you're a believer. And if that is not happening at any point in time, then you're moving slightly away and you need to pull yourselves back. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us in coming back to the right path. May He help us to stop feeding our heart with the wrongs. May He help us to avoid the junk of this dunya and keep our hearts pure. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to discipline ourselves and may He cure our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand what we have learned today and what the Quran tells us. Wa akhiru dawana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.